Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Divi Nation. Divi Nation is a podcast and YouTube show by Elegant Themes, a proud leader in the premium WordPress theme and plugin market. The goal of Divi Nation is really simple. We want to provide you with the knowledge, insights, and supportive community that you need to be successful with WordPress and Divi. I'm your host, Nathan B. Weller, and as your host, it's my job to facilitate that success by having various guests from the Divi and wider WordPress community onto the show to share their stories and experience with you. In this episode, I'll be sitting down with our very own Andy Tran. Andy is a front-end developer here at Elegant Themes who specializes in JavaScript animations. In addition to seeing his work throughout the Divi and extra themes, you probably noticed a bit of his recent handiwork and collaboration with Mario Maruffi in the release post for Divi 2.7, those big, fantastic curving line animations. So those are just a few examples of some of the really cool things that Andy's been doing, particularly when he teams up with Mario. And if you're a fan of that stuff, then you're really going to love today's episode. Because in addition to getting to know Andy a bit, he and Mario put together a few free UI animations that you can drop directly into Divi's code module and have them working on your own Divi site today. So you can find these freebies in this episode's accompanying blog post at elegantthemes.com/blog. It's going to be in the community category. You're going to be looking for Divi Nation episode 21, which I think is probably something that'll be really fun to play around with while you listen to our conversation, which starts right now. Andy, welcome to Divi Nation.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So what's going on in your world today, man?
Just going on CodePen every now and then and creating random snippets. What about you?
Basically been reconfiguring my entire computer setup so that we can do this interview. I had some crazy issues with audio lately. Starting with the Matt Cromwell interview a few weeks back, and I've been trying to get everything to work right. And for as easy as it seems, sometimes recording stuff on Skype can be a real pain, apparently. I'm finding that out.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested, and I always like to ask people this. What's your daily routine like? What's an average work day for Andy Tran?
So there's two different work days for me. One is a weekday in which I get up around 6 a.m., take a 30-minute jog, and then eat breakfast, and then head to a train station and head to Elegant Themes' office. Then from there on out, work till around 6 and then head back and just relax.
Yeah.
And then on Wednesday and the weekends, it's waking up at 12. Same routine. Take a jog, eat breakfast at 12, and then work until about 4 a.m.
Oh, wow. 4 a.m. That's quite a long work day.
Yeah, I'm a night person, so I get a lot more stuff done at night.
Oh, that makes sense. And I think you were mentioning to me that you have quite the commute. What's your commute to work like?
Depends if I get there on time. If I get there on time, it's about an hour there and back.
Oh, okay.
And an hour there and then an hour back, so 2 hours total.
Oh, nice. That's not bad.
And if I'm 5 minutes late, then add about an hour to that.
Oh, wow. So it's like very time sensitive to get to the right train on time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I get to the last one, so I get as much sleep and rest as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I can't wake up before 6.
So not a morning person?
Yeah, not.
Well, I'd love to get a bit of backstory on you to share with the community. I know people are like well aware of who you are, but I'm not sure, how well they know you. So I'd like to maybe give them a bit of backstory for that. You're 18, right?
Yeah.
So that makes you just a little bit younger than our average guest. So we might actually start your story a little bit sooner. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in San Jose.
And just, I don't know. I'm familiar. I just want to make sure everybody gets the gist. How close is that to the offices in San Francisco?
About an hour drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you first kind of get interested in web development? You're a front-end developer with ET right now. When did that passion start and what got you into it?
So it started, I believe, the end of my freshman year when I was failing high school. Yeah, so at the time I was all focused on games, and then I got sick of how like all these games are pay to win.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to start my own private server, which got me into development. And at one point, I knew how to code in Java, but I completely forgot that because I found out about web development, which was like so much cooler.
What was more fascinating about web development to you than game development?
Well, like for me, like I could see everything right away. For game development, I had to go through like this like compiler that took about 5 minutes every time I wanted to make it like a tiny change.
Yeah.
On top of that, like creating stuff in the canvas is like so much easier.
So it's just a lot more of a fluid development process on the web as opposed to doing video games.
Yeah.
Nice. How did that, because from what I understand, you started doing like front end web stuff and you were interested in that, but you weren't actually a WordPress developer of any kind until you started working for Elegant Themes. Is that correct?
I don't even consider myself a WordPress developer at all, since I barely know how to like create my own theme. When I create one, it's using underscore, and it's like just putting a bunch of stuff together.
So how did it come about that you came to work at a WordPress company and you don't do WordPress development?
Well, it was, it's a good question actually. I think at the very start, it was when I first started at Elegant Themes, it was an internship.
Oh, okay.
So I was slowly getting into like how WordPress works. And at the time, there were like several front end stuff that Nick had was needed done. So I took care of that. And then eventually I was put onto the extra team led by Josh. And then like I took care of most of the front end stuff from there, and I learned a lot, including like grunt development. Yeah.
So, yeah. Can tell us a bit about like, I guess obviously we don't want to get too terribly technical, but maybe tell me just a bit about development wise, where you feel like you started off and kind of how you've progressed as part of the Elegant Themes team.
So I started off like not knowing JavaScript at all. And just like basically HTML and CSS, and then like a little bit jQuery. So, kind of JavaScript, but not really. But as I started working on Extra, I realized that I need to know most of this stuff. So with the help of Josh and then like Google, I was able to get a lot of the stuff down.
Oh, wow. So you really kind of like self-taught in this area.
Yeah.
That's
I did
awesome.
take some courses on Code School though.
One thing I'm always interested in is how like people's perspective changes from like what like over time when it comes to the area that they're specializing in. You went from doing what I'm assuming are like like front end development passion projects, like tinkering with stuff that you thought was really cool, to working on software that's literally used by like hundreds of thousands of people rather.
Yeah.
Sorry. That'd be awesome. So how is like sort of the free form, like, oh, this is interesting approach versus well, these are the constraints that we have to work within approach to working with software that so many people use and has to like be used a certain way. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So like having to do that, like for example, like Divi, since it's like so big now and there's like a lot of like CSS that needs to be cleaned up, like
a lot of legacy code.
Yeah, like adding in a new feature that makes sure, like you have to make sure that it doesn't break all old like existing sites, and as well as making it clean and optimized as possible. Like that's a really like difficult challenge.
Yeah, and are you working in that area, or is that something that you're now aware of, but you're still focusing elsewhere? Right, you're still doing more front end stuff.
Yeah, I'm still playing around with like a lot of new concept out there, and then working a lot with animations now since like they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I love what you've been doing on CodePen. I've been seeing a lot of that stuff pop up in our Slack channels, and then obviously we share it when we can on Facebook and whatnot. One thing that I think is really cool is that it seems like for newer front end developers who don't really have the whole like I don't know, I guess PHP legacy WordPress. There's a lot of cool stuff happening with JavaScript and WordPress right now, where that's kind of becoming the new thing, and that kind of perfectly plays into like what people like yourself strengths are in. Where do you see like the future of WordPress and JavaScript and developers like yourself? Where do you see those things intersecting, and what kind of cool stuff might we expect?
With the REST API and like Calypso itself, like I can see like a lot more sites utilizing JavaScript to create all these like complex animations. I did a while ago, I checked out this site. I don't remember the name exactly, but it's open source. But it's basically a site built on React, and it's pulling data from WordPress itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, I mean, is there areas of WordPress that you're interested in developing towards?
Can't say for sure right now.
Yeah, it's actually all kind of up in the air at the moment
Yeah.
because it's so new, and the only thing that's really like Calypso is like the only thing that's really established, and it's brand new too. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what happens in that space.
Yeah.
Are there any projects along those lines, like besides Calypso, that you're excited about?
No, projects that I'm excited about aren't really WordPress related.
Well,
Yeah.
what are some of those?
So one of it is Meteor, which is basically like an all-in-one framework that would allow you to use all these like other frameworks like libraries like React, Backbone, Angular, and then like put it all into one.
So what kind of stuff can people do with that they couldn't do before?
They can set up a web application with ease without going through like several process of adding and integrating libraries together.
One thing I wanted to talk about in this episode, which I think is obviously going to be exciting for everybody in the Divi community, and it seems to be a passion of yours. I know ever since I joined the team, you've talked to me about, we need to be doing this, we need to be doing that for WordPress, for Divi developers specifically.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about like some of the Divi developer resources that you've been putting together and that you'd like to put together?
So some of the resources I've been putting together are like little snippets that would basically give your Divi site a unique feel. And these snippets can easily be added into your site by just using the code module itself. People don't know how powerful it is because like you can add in all these custom styles that overwrite existing pages, overwrite existing styles, add in like JavaScript as well, and then with JavaScript you can overwrite like existing code that you would have to usually use a child theme and edit the PHP itself.
Oh, wow. So that's like,
yeah,
you're basically getting total freedom inside that code module to do like whatever you want.
yeah,
That's amazing. That seems really cool. So Andy, you've actually created like a GitHub repo, right? For Divi resources, specifically for developers, but for a whole lot more too, right?
yeah. So the goal of it is to like put all the resources in one place for everyone to access and contribute to.
And one thing I noticed about GitHub is like, it requires its own login. So you got to create an account. Is this something that's worth people like creating an account for if they're in the Divi community?
You actually don't need an account to access it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just to like submit stuff to it, I guess, right? And
yeah.
Edit. Okay.
Yeah. So like, when it's comes down to like contributing, like GitHub's like the perfect go-to since it makes committing stuff and then like also keeps track of history as well.
Oh, nice. So what kind of stuff have you put on here so far?
Like overall or like the repo specifically?
The Divi repo specifically, yeah.
So far I've put everything released by Elegant Themes, and I did also add a couple snippets to it, which would allow, for example, like creating a simple modal that would pop up. Like you can just pop in whatever you want in there, and then it works right away.
Oh, so you put a snippet in there so that people can create that on Divi really easily?
Yeah, without having to go find like a plugin that's compatible with Divi.
Oh, nice. And that's just within the snippets folder.
Yeah.
Nice. And there's I'm looking at the table of contents right now. I just got on there. So we have all kinds of stuff. There's places for people to submit collaboration projects, articles and tutorials, books, things that are built with Divi, child themes. And this is something that anybody in the Divi community can take advantage of, right? Like, it doesn't matter if they're commercial, non-commercial, whatever.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. And there's already a couple podcasts around Divi. I think Divi Soup is another one that's popped up. So there's places for podcasts, layout packs, news. I think this is really cool. And hopefully we'll link it up here in this episode. So hopefully people will get in there and take advantage of it, because I think you've done something pretty awesome here.
Yeah. I got inspiration from like all the JavaScript and like media repos out there. Like I found those to be like really useful, especially like having every single possible article, guides, plugins as well, all in one place and easy to access.
So as you were putting all this together, I'm sure, and I know this is something that I think of whenever I'm creating Divi tutorials. I try to think of like, not only what would people find most useful, but what are maybe some underutilized aspects of Divi. And one of my last Divi quick tips was on the tracking shortcode, because it's kind of tucked away in the Divi lead settings. What are some areas of Divi in general that you feel like might be underutilized that people can really take advantage of?
For me, it's definitely the code module.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff are people not really doing with the code module now that you think are just like waiting to be done?
Well, they're not adding in all these like cool animations. That's one thing.
Because that's your thing, like animation, man.
But yeah, the code modules allows for a lot of stuff.
Something that I think is really cool is you had mentioned that you wanted to do some stuff specifically for this episode, like give away some code snippets and stuff that people can use in the code module. Can you tell us about what you and Mario have been kind of collaborating on to give away with this episode?
Yeah, so me and Mario for the past few days have been working on creating some cool add-ons to your site. One of it being like a team grid, which I recently showcased on CodePen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then all these will be available in the GitHub repo for anyone to access, with a guide on how to like quickly install it.
Nice. So they'll be in the post, but then also extra stuff will be in the repo, so make it easy for people to get to, even if they don't know about the episode.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. So you got the grid, the team grid. Is there any other one?
I believe there's a fixed banner that's gonna pop up at the bottom of the page, and it's basically
was sort of like a hello bar, but at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like a help pop up.
Like a dialog box or a modal box.
Yeah.
Nice. And these can be used for really anything that people want to send a message with, the bar at the bottom and the pop-up box.
Yeah.
And
it's not going to be as advanced with like inputs where you can basically edit every settings. You need to know at least the basics, like how to edit a paragraph, for example.
Oh, okay. And so what would some ideal use cases for this kind of stuff be?
So basically, like for those people who want to add in one of those like online chats, like you click it, it pops up a window where you can just chat with an agent. Like this would be one of the cases where all you have to do is embed the shortcode that they give you into that custom module, and it'll render it out for you.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And then what about the, obviously the team grid would be great for about pages, and the bottom banner, I'm assuming would just be great for like announcements. And is that a site-wide thing, or is it just on specific pages that you have the code module in? Yeah,
it's only going to be on specific pages that you have a code module on. But with like global module settings, like you can potentially just have it everywhere if you want.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I'm really excited to put that stuff together in the post as you and Mario finish it up. And for everybody who's interested in snagging those free resources, obviously we're going to link up the repo page and the code pens or the snippets that Andy's been talking about right now. We're going to have examples embedded in the post that accompanies this episode. And that's going to be at elegantthemes.com/blog. And this is going to be Divi Nation episode 21. Andy, I think we're just about out of time for our interview, but I just wanted to thank you for making time to come on the show. Really appreciate having you on as a guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, that's all for this episode of Divi Nation. As always, I just want to give another big thank you to our guest, Andy Tran, for coming on the show and creating some fantastic resources and freebies for the Divi community. I also want to thank Mario for putting in the extra effort this week to help Andy and I make this episode special. If anyone watching or listening ends up taking advantage of those freebies, please be sure to thank those guys in the comments because they put a lot of hard work into those freebies. Speaking of comments, if you have any questions about the stuff that we talked about in this episode, feel free to leave them in the comments section wherever you're watching or listening to this, particularly on the Elegant Themes blog, because that's the easiest place for us to get to them. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. That's all for this episode. I look forward to seeing you around the community, and as always, I'll be back next week with another episode of Divi Nation.